I live, I die, I live again. This is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, prequel to the greatest action movie of the 2010s, Mad Max Fury Road. The one thing we all wanted at the end of that movie is finally here. Welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. We'll give a review of this movie in a minute, but first let's talk about the health hazards. Is this movie safe for photosensitive audiences? The answer is... This is one where I have to give a cautious no and say that no, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga is not safe for photosensitive audiences. I say that cautiously because most of the runtime really is, and the strobe effects that there are never last longer than a second. But when we do get bright flashes, we don't get any warning. So here's the best I can do on that front. There are some very sudden and very bright flashes during two scenes where the main character is sleeping, showing just very quick flashes of dreams that they're having, and they're never slow enough to be able to tell what's in the bright image. There are a few close-ups of muzzle flashes from rapid-firing firearms. There's a time-lapse shot that, while it looks really cool, it does create a strobe effect changing so fast from day to night to day to night. The opening Warner Brothers logo, which is the first thing that happens in this movie, its light source does flicker a couple of times in the first second or two of the movie. So for flashing lights, we're giving Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, a 6 out of 10. Just because these flashes can be pretty harsh and they're unpredictable, but none of them last long, and the rapid firing firearms are in bright daylight, so that does mitigate it a little bit. This is not a purely objective way that I do this. This is just me trying to give the best informed consent to anybody with photosensitive health issues. A bit of caution to viewers with fear of heights. Now we get to the trigger warning section. This is probably the most extensive trigger warning section out of any of the 5 Mad Max movies. This movie has graphic open wounds in several scenes. One of these scenes has maggots on the open wounds. This scene does not last very long. It's probably a minute or less, but it is disturbing. In the opening sequence, there is a whistle used that is very high. It actually hurt the ears of the person I was sitting next to and caused this person to brace themselves and cover their ears when that whistle was used again. There's a childbirth scene that results in a stillbirth. If this were vital to the plot, I would have saved it for the end of the video with a warning that it was both a trigger I was talking about and that I was talking about a spoiler. There is one character who gets a traumatic brain injury and a few seconds later starts convulsing. Finally, just like Mad Max Fury Road, this movie features characters who end their own lives in a blaze of glory. Now that we've got all that out of the way, is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, any good? This movie has a lot riding behind it, with Fury Road having been the best action movie of the 10s. The first thing that I want to make very clear is that this is not trying to be Fury Road 2.0. This is very much trying to be its own movie. So if you're expecting Fury Road 2.0, you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're expecting a fascinating backstory to the most fascinating character in Fury Road, this movie does deliver on that. This movie gives everything we wanted from the backstory about Furiosa, including, and this is clear in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler, but we do learn how and why she lost her arm. There are some really interesting choices made in this movie. One of them is between our 2 lead actors. We don't even get to see one of those 2 lead actors until roughly about an hour into the movie. And it's not the one you expect. If I tell you that Chris Hemsworth had a blast doing this movie, I'm probably just saying what all the other reviewers are saying. If I say that this movie is lower octane than Mad Max Fury Road, I'm probably not the only one who says that. One of the things that really makes this movie stand out among the other 4 movies is that this movie easily has the hardest R rating among all 4 previous movies, mainly with the graphic and grisly images of these open wounds. The violence in this movie is very visceral, And so if you're really empathetic with physical pain happening to the characters, this will definitely be an uncomfortable movie in the best way. I think one of the things that's going to be most iconic about this movie is going to be Chris Hemsworth's choice of vehicle, because that is so gaudy and so awesome. One of the big highlights that set Fury Road apart from other action movies of the 10s is that all of the stunt work appeared to be in camera, where CG was used as a tool to help enhance the scenery and the action, but most of the action was still filmed in camera. This movie has a visible reduction in that practice, and there are scenes that the CG is very obvious and does take you out of the movie a little bit. I'm not going to tell you how, but if you've played the Mad Max video game, you are going to notice that this movie ties all the other movies into that video game as well, mainly through one of the secondary antagonists of this movie. Did this movie deliver on the action levels of Mad Max Fury Road? No. But the action was still awesome and worth getting tickets to the theater with the best sound system you can find, whether that's IMAX or Dolby or AMC Prime or any of that. But did this movie deliver on creating a fascinating backstory to a fascinating character? Absolutely it did. But one of the surprising standouts in this movie was the actress who played young Furiosa. She has a surprising amount of weight to carry in this movie, and she steps up to the task beautifully, and I hope she has an easy time finding more work after this movie. I am going to give Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, an A-. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons over on our Patreon page, whose names are scrolling on the screen like credits right now. As a reminder, nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has any of it ever been reviewed by any medical professionals. Be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discourse, especially if you disagree with anything I've said. We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe at the movies.